Our protagonist is named Maru Han, and he starts off as that typical loser we hardly like. Actually, we kinda hate this guy. He's a boy with heavy social anxiety who can't get anything done, and he has a strong dose of autism. However, as the story progresses, the boy becomes cold and calculating, almost like Tommy Shelby. And in this world where people usually have only one talent, this bastard manages to give sweet kisses on monsters' necks and steal a piece of them along with their abilities. With that, he becomes the only one capable of accumulating countless skills. Besides that, he has a superior called King, a badass girl with a ripped abdomen, who you really shouldn't think too much about. Some would say Maru is a lucky guy, but the truth is that everything is against him. In 1 year, portals will open in the sky and monsters will start raining down on Earth. When that happens, he'll be the one responsible for stopping this invasion. But before the chaos begins, we need to go back a little to the start of the story. The story begins in a restricted area. In a campsite deep in the forest, a guy is lying on the ground with blood on his shirt. In front of him, a bunch of dead people. Desperate, he says that there's something inside that yellow dust. The silhouette of something approaches him. He draws a gigantic sword, completely soaked in red, with some little bells at the tip. The boy begs for help, but at that exact moment, a strange creature jumps out of the bushes and grabs his leg. The man is dragged into the smoke, leaving a trail. Sometime later, his body is found dead. A group of friends checks the area, saying that the guy shouldn't have been there. The girl with glasses complains that now they'll have to classify this as a casualty. The girl with black hair says that judging by the footprints, they'll have to start working before it's too late. Then, suddenly, the beautiful one hears water next to her. The three turn around, and she reaches into her pocket, pulling out a small knife and making a cut on her hand. The blade becomes soaked, and her blood seems to interact with the sword, climbing up her arm. The girl with glasses points to the yellow dust and says she can see it. The girl steps forward and says she'll handle it. That small knife looks like it absorbed her entire arm and is now turned into a huge sword. On her back, it shows that she is part of the Yellow Dusk Task Force. The scene then shifts to a completely different place. In a building, a job interview for public service in the city of Seoul is happening. A bunch of people wait while numbers are being called. In the bathroom, someone says he's about to die. He doesn't want to go in. He just wants to go home. His heart is going to explode. Chest tight, heart racing. He says this is impossible. He goes to the sink, splashes water on his face, and tries to calm down, repeating to himself that yes, he can do it. He just needs to take a few more pills, and even though there are many, at least they work. Suddenly, he looks to the side, and a little bird lands on a branch. The animal looks at him, and the guy stares back intensely. After a moment of silence, the creature opens a huge eye and asks what he's staring at, saying he's screwed. But the guy isn't even that shocked, saying these panic attacks are really a curse. On his way to the interview room, a news report shows that 4 men who had been camping disappeared near a province. Our protagonist keeps walking, telling himself that he can do it. His name is Maru Han. He's 29 years old and as average as a human being can possibly be. He's just a regular student from a regular school who graduated from a mediocre university and is struggling to find a job. Man, if that's his mother, I'm shocked. I don't know what's bigger, her heart or her jaw. This is the 5th year our guy is trying to become a public servant, and only now has he reached the interview stage. A woman enters the room, calls his name, and he stands up excited, saying, "I'm here," while repeating to himself that this time he'll definitely succeed. He walks stiffly, telling himself it's going to be easy, until he runs into the boss behind the laptop, staring at him. The boy gulps dry, and the man asks, "Why do you want to be a civil servant?" He yells nervously, saying, "I want to give back to the community and help people. That's it." But in his mind, he's thinking that what he really wants is stability, a calm salary, a safe life, and not too many adventures. Then the interviewer asks how he deals with people. Smiling brightly, he says he's terrible at it. He can't even... communicate. He gets stressed easily, and his school friends used to bully him because of the panic attacks he had and everything else. He said all of that, but in his head he was thinking he should have said something like, I'm really cool, I have great friends, and I'm still close with my classmates today. The interviewer looks confused, and the idiot realizes he said what he was supposed to think and thought what he was supposed to say. He's really messed up. The man just adjusts his glasses and says they'll move on to the last question. A light even reflects off his glasses when he asks the boy how he dealt with the most difficult moment of his life. Looking clueless, he says life has been pretty easy for him and that he hasn't really been through much. But the interviewer insists and tells him to just mention any problem that comes to mind. Then Maru, all awkward, says the only thing that really comes to mind was when he went to the mountains with his father. And then he remembers a memory where he was near that yellow fog. His heart starts racing, and he remembers the black creature with golden eyes staring at him. Now the boy's breathing gets weak, and the creature had tons of eyes coming out of his head, and there were bloody bodies on the ground, while Maru was still just a child. The boy freezes in the middle of the interview, and his eyes start rolling. The chair falls backwards, and he hits the floor, staring at the ceiling with his vision blurry. The interviewer approaches him, calling him Mr. Han, shaking his shoulders, asking him if he's okay. But the boy, in the middle of a panic attack, tries to hold back his vomit. Too late. The interviewer must have gotten drenched, and the next thing we see is Maru lying in his bed at home saying that the whole thing was a disaster. He's sure the interview is ruined. Now, unemployed, without a girlfriend, and without friends, he wonders how he's supposed to live a normal life. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door. He has no idea who it is. All messed up, he opens it and asks what they want. Man, there's a gigantic woman there. Maybe she's a woman, I'm not even sure. The human being in front of him asks why he didn't answer earlier. He calls her Mom, but look at her walking inside. She's 3 meters tall, with a physique straight out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But of course, a mother is always a mother, and she says she brought some food and was just about to leave. He thanks her and asks if there's any meat, but she says no, only chard and beans. He thanks her anyway. With a jawline that would make any looksmaxer jealous, she looks around and sees he's only been eating instant noodles, dirtying napkins, and drinking soda. While he's crooked and happy about the food, she notices his place is a complete pigsty. She starts cleaning everything, asking how he manages to live in such a mess. He says he'll clean later, but she wants to know how the interview went. That destroys him. He collapses on the floor, depressed. He mutters to himself that there's no way he'll tell her he vomited on an interviewer. She crosses her arms and gives him a strong pat on the back, telling him he'll do better next time, so he shouldn't worry. While he's suffering, she continues cleaning. After a while, she even hands him an allowance. He's touched by her kindness, but he refuses, saying he's already an adult and should work. She stretches out her massive arm, flexing all the muscles, and he gives in instantly. His mother scratches her gigantic chin and says that if he failed the interview, then the shaman must have been right. She informs him that he must visit the mountain. He's scared for a moment, but the next scene already shows him on the bus. The sun is blazing, and the boy is wearing a hoodie and long pants. That's a true otaku. He wonders how many years it's been since he imagined he'd return here again, standing in front of the mountain where everything happened. He remembers his mother said she talked to a great shaman to ask why he couldn't find a job. The shaman said it wasn't because of his panic attacks or his ADHD, but because his father, who died and disappeared 20 years ago, left a barrier on his boy's soul that needed to be cleansed. Until he cleansed it, he wouldn't be able to move forward in life. To become a public servant, he needed to make an offering on the mountain to appease his father's spirit. But he's already walked so much and has no idea when he'll actually reach it. After a while, he finally stands before the gate and says, "This is it." When he opens it, he pauses and looks to the side. In that moment, it looks like he's seeing an identical version of himself. Because it's translucent, I imagine it's either a soul or a memory. The boy runs to the house's door and begins opening it slowly. Inside, there's a man standing with his back turned. The boy then opens the door completely and stands there staring. After a moment, he approaches, pulls on his father's pants, and says he's hungry. But the father has a strange expression and begins to scream. Maru jumps in shock, and the illusion disappears. Then he feels a sharp pain in his chest and realizes a panic attack is coming. He inhales deeply, then exhales. A little calmer, he reaches into his bag, pulls out the liquor, and pours it into a cup. He throws it all inside the house, telling his father that he hopes he's somewhere out there having fun. He only came because his mother asked him to, asking his father to rest in peace. That's why he was there, to say a prayer to the spirits of the mountain. He explains that ever since his father passed away, his mother has been working hard so he could grow up well and eventually find a job. While he's there performing the prayer and offering, that yellow dust starts approaching again. Maru wonders if all that smoke is because there's a fire happening on the mountain. He starts running, telling himself that safety first is the most important thing. But then he hears a strange voice repeating the same words, safety first. He wonders if it was just an echo and looks behind him. Inside the yellow mist, a figure appears. Man, you've seen that thing before, and it's coming right at you, so why are you still standing there? A bloated, twisted monster with a burst head appears, repeating the words, safety first. Poor Maru has dealt with so many hallucinations that he thinks this is just another one. He rubs his eyes to see if the monster disappears, but whatever it is, it's still approaching him. He knows something is wrong, and he should be running. Suddenly, something pierces the boy's stomach. He falls to his knees, wondering if this is really how he's going to die. He'd spent his entire life studying and trying to get a job, never really getting to enjoy anything. On the other hand, if he died now, at least he wouldn't have to worry about work, bills, or anything else. He even smiles, saying that he knows no one is going to care. But then he remembers his giant mother, who always worked hard, always helped him no matter what, and was genuinely happy just to see her son smiling. Her courage runs in his blood. Even with the monster's spike stuck in him, he begins to stand and says he won't die there. But the creature smells something and creeps closer, repeating safety first again. The monster goes in to bite him, and inside its mouth, Maru can see an eye staring at him. It latches onto his waist, and he pushes at the creature's torso, trying not to get bitten. But the monster's mouth is huge. It sinks its teeth into his shoulder. The poor guy screams in agony, thinking he's going to pass out at this rate. Then he remembers his father telling him to eat. Well, if the monster can bite, he can bite too. He leans forward and bites into the monster's neck, ripping out a chunk. What the hell, girl? Brutal. The monster wasn't expecting the tables to turn, and now it's writhing in pain, while the eye inside its mouth continues staring at him. In the chaos, a black energy spreads and begins pouring out of the creature's head. Maru's mind seems to be consumed by visions of countless bodies being dragged away by these creatures. A kind of fleshy landscape forms around them, where monsters kill each other while a strange green eye watches the entire war from above. Maru tries to ask himself what that was, who was talking to him, and whether he might be already dead. His mouth tastes like metal, and he wonders if that's the taste of death. Someone calls his name again, and he asks himself who it is this time. Slowly, he opens his eyes, and a man standing beside him asks what he's doing in a restricted area. Maru, with his mouth covered in blood, looks confused, and quickly stands up, startled. He immediately wonders where that monster went, the one that came out of the yellow fog. The guy in the Hawaiian shirt wants to know what he said, and what he saw. Maru explains that a yellow mist appeared out of nowhere. He was attacked by a monster, and now he just woke up. He was sure he was going to die because his stomach had been pierced. The group that found him looks at each other and signals something. The man in the Hawaiian shirt says that when the alarm went off about a demon, he thought it was a false alert, but apparently it wasn't, and it seems that kid right there killed it. The girl responds that it's impossible. You can gain power from a demon's blood, but you can't use the abilities immediately. The man looks at our protagonist and asks if he knows what happened yesterday. Maru, with his torn clothes, looks like a fashion disaster. He wonders what they mean by yesterday. Then he looks at his phone and freaks out. He's been unconscious for an entire day. While the comment is meant that if he survived all that time, he definitely gained some abilities. The girl says it's too early to talk about that, especially since he just woke up and won't understand what's going on. The man tells him not to worry, saying everyone goes through this. He puts his hands on Maru's shoulders and tells him he arrived at the perfect time and will have to participate. Maru has no idea what the guy is talking about, but the man tells him to change clothes first since the ones he's wearing are destroyed. A little later, they return to the port for the orientation of new employees for the special service. Maru is now standing there in his Hawaiian shirt, completely lost. Why on earth is he suddenly participating in an orientation for government officers? And the atmosphere around him doesn't feel positive at all. Everyone there looks strange and serious. Then comes someone wearing red sandals. She grabs her pants and, man, another gigantic woman. What is this world? Nothing but square-jawed giants. She introduces herself as Yo-Young, the chief of that department, and welcomes the new employees. Maru raises his hand and says he might not be supposed to be there, but she tells him not to worry, because she's just received information about him. He's been admitted. Congratulations, he's officially a new recruit. The poor guy stands there not understanding a single thing this crazy woman is talking about. She continues with her script, explaining that everyone here should already know about the special employees of this place. Their job is to protect other people's lives. So, first of all, they are not allowed to tell family, relatives, or anyone close to them that they work here. If that information leaks, they will be punished for violating national security laws. Our boy thinks that sounds like a very serious rule. Yo-Young then explains that everyone present must have received new demon abilities this month. When demon blood mixes with your own, there's a small chance you awaken an ability. At that moment, Maru realizes this must have happened when he took that bite out of the monster's neck. She continues, explaining that they're lucky demons currently only inhabit the mountains. The yellow dust is the first sign that a demon will appear. Its concentration ranges from 1 to 10, and obviously the more dust there is, the stronger the creature. A handsome guy raises his hand, and she says since he received the ability of a level 7 creature, she's excited to see his potential. The pretty boy confidently says he'll do his best, and she doesn't need to worry. Then the woman mentions our boy. She says he received the ability of a level 1 demon, and wants to know what ability he awakened. Completely lost, he says he has no idea yet. The jerk next to him laughs, being totally arrogant. He deserves a bite on the neck. Maybe not, but still. Maru gets angry, but decides to ignore it. First, he needs to get out of this place. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoes through the room, and Yo-Young says it's the perfect moment. That's the signal that a demon has appeared. The next second, they're already climbing the mountain. She announces that it's time for the practical test, the perfect chance for them to try out their new abilities. Of course, the one wondering why the hell he's even there is our dear Maru. All he wants is to get out of this place before things get dangerous. But while he's thinking about safety again, he encounters that cursed yellow dust. He looks terrified. In the middle of the smoke, he sees the silhouette of a woman, a warm, motherly hug aura. He wonders if she's okay. The beautiful woman looks back, and Maru jumps in shock. She had impaled a 3-meter creature with a stake. The boy falls to the ground, terrified, while everyone else is impressed. Yo-Young tells everyone to pay attention because the practical exam has begun. The creature in front of them looks strong, but it's actually a rank 1 demon, the weakest kind. Kang already pinned it to the wall, so no one needs to worry. Kang, however, is more interested in the clueless-looking boy, the one who supposedly killed a demon alone yesterday. She's curious to see the potential of someone who awakened powers at the exact same moment he fought a creature, which is extremely rare. Yo-Young cheerfully tells everyone to start using their abilities, but our boy is freezing in fear. Looking at that huge creature, he thinks this woman has lost her mind. How is he supposed to fight something like that? A panic attack hits him. His heart tightens. He struggles to breathe. In an instant, he's standing above a red river. A creature with black legs approaches, some kind of woman-like hair-covered hellhound, ugly as sin. He stands there frozen, suffering quietly, while the monster slowly brings its hand toward his head. The creature grabs his skull, shifts it to the side, and tells him to eat. So the brat really is Naruto with the Kyuubi in his head, but on the outside he has the hunger of a Korean horror demon, because while everyone else looks tense, he's drooling, muttering that he wants to eat. And not just a little drooling, this is premium-grade, high-budget anime drool. Someone taps his shoulder, and he jumps. It's Soon, asking if he's laughing because he's so scared he's losing his mind. Maru honestly answers no, he's just starving. Man, I want to hit that annoying guy. He's calling our boy pathetic just because he's hungry in a dangerous situation. Now that we know our protagonist is basically Tokyo Ghoul, Soon is definitely asking for a bite. The protagonist calms and wonders what that vision was and why he suddenly became so hungry. At the top of the mountain, Yo-Young calls everyone's attention. Before they use their abilities, she needs to explain the basics. She explains that the yellow smoke itself is emitted by demons, and obviously the stronger the demon, the more smoke it produces. But that's not all. She makes a small cut on her hand and explains that those who received demon powers also experience enhanced regeneration inside the yellow dust. However, a fatal wound will still kill them, so they must be careful. In addition, their powers only manifest inside the smoke while facing creatures. Once they step outside the dust, they go back to being normal people. Meanwhile, the most impatient guy in Korea is sighing, wanting to know how long she's going to keep talking. She says the most important part is how to actually activate the power, something she should have explained right away. Maru decides to try it. He bites his own lip, blood starts dripping, and the yellow smoke begins moving toward him. As it enters his body, something activates. He feels his strength surge, and his eyes turn golden. The secret is letting the smoke enter your bloodstream. He puts on a glove and says it's time to begin. Suddenly, the stake that was lodged in the monster explodes. Kang yells for everyone to be careful, and the yellow fog starts surrounding them. The monster, now free, begins to walk. It roars at everyone and slams its fist into the ground. The newbies who just started working are terrified, while Kang begins moving toward the creature. But Yo-Young tells her to stop and not to interfere. Kang argues that this is too much for beginners, but she insists that this is the perfect time for practice. If they can't handle a level 1 creature, they die anyway. The monster senses something and turns its eyes directly toward Haru, who is frozen in fear. He has no idea why the damn thing is staring at him. Suddenly, the monster opens its hand, forming a blade, and launches it straight at Haru. The boy is immediately sent flying. The thing was unbelievably fast. He collapses on the ground, groaning in pain. He forces himself up with one arm, but the monster charges again to crush his back. It slams down right beside him, inching closer. They stare at each other while the beast slowly reaches out. Then something bursts from the ground. A monstrous centipede-like creature wraps itself around the monster's body, squeezing it. Haru watches as the creature is restrained. This is the ability of the centipede user. For someone obsessed with being handsome, his power is disgustingly ugly. A moment later, another student sneaks behind the demon and slashes its head open. She has the ability of the Crimson Demon, whatever that means. All we know is that she sliced half the creature's brain out. The monster screams upward, scattering the fog everywhere. The girl smiles, saying at least they managed to beat it. But the yellow smoke gathers around its head and reconstructs everything. Now the idiots realize the demon's regeneration is also greatly amplified. The monster grabs the centipede and rips it from its neck. Since it was connected to the boy's arm, it uses the centipede like a rope to fling him at the girl. Then it pulls him back in to choke him. This thing is vengeful. It opens its huge mouth to bite him, but suddenly someone snaps a finger inside a glove. The monster's neck twists violently, dropping the boy. Turns out the centipede user wasn't the real powerhouse. The stylish guy is. He has the ability of the temple demon. Apparently, when he breaks one of his own bones, the demon's corresponding bone breaks too. The monster tries to attack again, but he removes his glove and breaks his own fist, commanding the demon to die. With that, the monster's entire neck contorts and bursts. Its body collapses, the head rolling near his feet like a soccer ball. He explains that demons usually die once their heads are removed, because they can no longer emit or absorb the yellow smoke. The other students stare in shock, while he casually says this was a good chance to test something new. Kang walks up behind him and asks if he didn't break her stake on purpose just to wake the demon up. The guy has villain potential. He denies everything, saying he never broke anything. Where's the proof? She grabs his arm and says she could just break a few of his fingers to see if her weapon breaks again. Yo-young claps loudly to interrupt, saying Senyu did great for a first-timer, but someone is missing. Our Haru ran away. And honestly, he's right. Who wants to work with this kind of nightmare? He wants a quiet, normal life, not to kill demons with hell-spawn powers. But someone needs to tell him he's the protagonist. He's not escaping the story. He already ran straight into something else. Young shakes her head, saying someone who flees like that isn't qualified to be a special agent. Kong is still thinking about what happened earlier. There were countless targets around, and yet the demon specifically chose to follow the boy. Young orders everyone to find the kid quickly, to make sure he didn't die. But Kong is the only one who notices the obvious. Why hasn't the yellow smoke faded if the boss demon is dead? Everyone starts wondering the same thing. Meanwhile, Maru stands in front of a gate emitting an absurd amount of yellow fog. He wonders why that thing is even there. Right then, a new demon appears. This one looks about 15 meters tall, and he immediately hides behind a bush. He wonders why out of everyone, he has to run into something like this again. He peeks out to see whether it's gone, but the monster is already behind him. At that moment, the TikTok-looking kid with colored hair calls for Kang. Turns out that's his name. She asks what happened, and he explains that he received a notice from the office saying a level 3 demon was loose in the region. Oh-young thinks it's strange, since creatures don't usually appear one right after another. Kang wants to know where it is, and we can already imagine what's coming, right? Our boy is running for his life in the restricted area, sliding on the ground, begging for help, begging to be saved, until he hits his foot on a rock and falls face first. He gets up, and right in front of him he sees the same house his father used to live in. At least he knows this place and knows where to hide. He goes to a house with an iron door and hides behind it, wondering what the hell that thing was. He peeks through a crack, convinced the monster wouldn't follow him this far. But of course, it's right outside. He wonders why this damn creature is obsessed with chasing him, and he still has no idea why there are weird things floating around its head. Then he hears the gate opening. An old man walks in, calling for someone, and asking why there's so much yellow dust in the air. The man's cataracts are so bad that he can't see a 15-meter monster right in front of him. The creature is already grinning, ready to take a bite. Haru knows he has to save the old woman somehow before she dies, but the problem is that he doesn't have enough power, so how is he going to stop this? That's when he remembers that Yo-young explained their powers make their organs regenerate inside the dust, but obviously a fatal wound is still enough to kill them. Hands trembling, he knows he could die. Maybe it would be smarter to stay hidden and save his own life, rather than step out and die for a stranger. The old woman is staring into the distance, asking if he is Shang Yik's mother. Even the monster gets confused and repeats her words. She steps forward, telling it to stop imitating her. That's when she finally gets scared. Up close, her cataracts don't help. She sees the enormous beast. The poor woman immediately falls backward in terror. The monster keeps repeating her words. It raises its index finger. The spikes aim at her, and it fires the attack. Blood splashes everywhere, and I'd bet 1,000,000 reals that our Maru jumped in front of her and took the entire hit. When the old woman slowly opens her eyes, she sees the boy suffering, asking if she's okay. She says yes, but that's when he collapses in her lap, missing an arm, completely impaled. These boys suffer way too much, my God. He tells the grandma to run, while wondering why he had such bad luck to get a level 1 ability. This thing was as useless as the resumes he hands out to companies. In the end, he's going to die and not even save the old woman. All he wanted was for someone stronger or talented to come and save him, too. While he waits for help, the yellow dust starts entering his arm. Veins start bulging on his neck, and here he comes, drooling like a wild animal. He immediately jumps toward the monster and bites it. Meanwhile, Kang is running through the forest. She hears a scream behind her and turns. She bursts through the gate and comes face to face with something horrifying. Our beloved waifu stands there, drenched in red. It's Maru, feasting on the monster's neck. Terrified, she has no idea what this rookie is doing. The monster grabs him by the head and throws him against the wall. He's half unconscious, but apparently he swallowed the chunky bit. The monster is furious at the brat who dared to take a bite out of him. When the beast tries to flee, Kang notices that the part Maru bit off isn't regenerating. She doesn't know why, but this isn't the time to think about it. She charges at the monster, jumps toward its head, grabs one of the crystals, and rips it out. With that, she gains the ability of the Steel Demon, transforming the crystal into a sword. The monster screams and fires spikes at her. She sees the attack coming just in time and reflects all of them with the sword. Forced to defend itself from its own attack, the creature has no chance. She's already in front of it, beautiful and deadly. One clean vertical slash, and the creature is cut apart, turning into a cloud of dust, while our rain and blood fall together, and at least the fight is finally over. She goes to the old woman to check if she's okay, but she seems to have fainted. She suddenly wakes up, confused. Kang is completely clean, no blood at all. Maybe the blood turned into dust, too. Kang tells her not to worry, saying a wild boar ran through the area, that's all. The old woman says wild boars appear there all the time, but Kang assures her that she'll handle any problems. The woman heads back home and thanks her for the hard work. Immediately, Kang's expression changes. She walks to our boy, wanting to know what exactly he is. She's never heard of anyone with regeneration strong enough to regrow an entire arm out of nowhere. In theory, he's supposed to have a level 1 ability. Next scene, our boy is screaming in frustration. He received a message saying he starts work tomorrow, but remembering that spiked monster, he's not excited at all about going there. He falls onto his bed, saying there's no way he's going to that job. But on the other hand, he's also desperate. He really needs work. Tired of thinking too much, he decides he'll sleep. But if there's one thing this boy doesn't have, it's a single moment of peace. As always, he's dreaming about that war of red monsters devouring each other and tearing themselves apart. A voice calls him back, and suddenly he wakes up in bed, sweating, terrified, staring at his own hands without understanding any of it meant. He notices it's already morning and looks outside. That's when he sees the entire mountain is on fire. Among the bushes and trees, a creature made of ashes is walking around, setting everything ablaze. Suddenly, a girl shows up, completely soaked, throwing water at the creature. To be honest, those little splashes she's tossing don't look like they'll help much, but they're not alone. Another person arrives and uses an ice ability. The monster's leg freezes, and it turns into an ice pop. The girl calls for the leader and says it's strange because creatures like this aren't supposed to appear at night, but the guy tells her not to worry about that yet. They first need to stop the fire from spreading. The monster starts melting the ice. The leader pulls out 2 blades and says he'll handle it. He rushes toward the creature, but just then, something bursts out from the middle of its forehead. A sinister eye commands it to bring that person, and the monster immediately breaks free. The captain charges to strike while the creature swings its fist at him. He manages to block the blow, but he's thrown hard into a tree and already looks badly injured. The soaked girl calls out to the leader, but the creature crouches down with a boiling cauldron-like mass on its back. Lava begins to spread everywhere, and the leader wonders why the monster is growing larger and stronger. Meanwhile, at headquarters in the city of Seoul, all the monitors are flashing red with danger signals. Yo-young asks for a status update. With this many warning signs, things are clearly not going well. A girl reports that they're being attacked on 20 mountains at the same time. The pattern and behavior of the creatures have completely changed, and it only started happening this week, but Yo-young has no idea why. One of the staff members says they're receiving an urgent call from Busan. She answers and asks what the problem is, and a cheerful man greets her. He's the director of the Busan area, Bong-sik, and wonders when she's going to visit his city. She says hello and tells him to get straight to the point. Then he explains the situation on the mountain. A portal has been open for 3 days straight. She's confused. How is that even possible? But he says creatures just keep pouring out non-stop. The team assigned to the area is obviously exhausted because they've had to keep fighting without rest. Yoyong asks why the gate doesn't close and whether they've identified the cause. The director explains that the monster keeps repeating the same sentence over and over. They even sent in the girl with interpreter abilities, and she said the monster keeps saying to bring a certain person. As the monster jumps around the area, Yoyong asks who this person is. The director says that's the problem. They have no idea. He doesn't know who the creature wants, but this person needs to appear quickly. She makes a call to a man in a helicopter. He asks what the issue is, and after hearing about the mountain situation, he immediately jumps out of the helicopter, saying he's on his way. He'll call back after everything is handled. At that moment, a massive aura explodes in the sky, glowing like a star. On the way down, the man starts absorbing the yellow smoke. This guy is fearless. Out of nowhere, he activates spatial inversion and seems to float, calmly standing above the portal, while the others wonder who this lunatic even is. A woman tells him to get down because it's dangerous. The red demon inside the portal seems to smile when it notices him, leaps toward the girl who warned him, and goes in for a piercing kick. She barely dodges it, but now the monster is directly above her, with no escape. That's when the man places his hand into the air, opens a portal, and tears space apart. He reaches inside the rift and pulls out the monster's entire spine. The creature collapses, and everyone is horrified. He congratulates them for their hard work and says he'll take over from here. They can rest now. The leader is thrilled, while the girl wants to know who this man is. The leader explains that he was the first user of special abilities and founded the task force. The man stretches, touches the ground, and says it's better to deal with the problem quickly. He is the strongest user of demonic abilities, known as Director Ildo. Purple lines spread across the ground toward the cloud of dust, climb the portal, and rise so high they almost reach the moon. From far away, everyone can see it and wonder what in the world it is. Dio comments that it's his first time witnessing it, but in theory, this is the most powerful spatial ability. Meanwhile, Zhang walks through the pathway he opened toward the yellow smoke. At the same time, on the mountain that was burning earlier, the monster had grown enormous, and the ice and water duo could no longer handle it. The poor girl had collapsed, and the guy wondered if this was the end for them. The guy told the young lady to get up, or else the two of them would die right there. A magma monster charged at them again. He tried to raise an ice barrier, but the creature struck the shield with full force, and the poor guy dropped to his knees. The monster kept hitting and hitting until the shield shattered. He was thrown far away. Seeing the monster coming in for the final blow, he knew that this was how he was gonna die. But suddenly, a spatial rift appeared behind the monster. Zhang was pulling the creature's head from somewhere else and tossed it aside. The explosion sent crows flying everywhere. He told them it was time to finish off this monster, not just this one, but the ones in other locations too. Then he activated every spatial unit. In the province of Gamwood, a boy was being trampled by a monster. The creature said something and struck him in the chest, but then a rift opened behind it as well, pulling the monster inside. Across every mountain that was under attack, the same thing began happening. All the monsters were being dragged into the same place. It was good because the threat was now concentrated, but also dangerous for the same reason. The girl said the signals were disappearing, and the director explained that it only meant he had arrived safely. The good news, Zhang's plan worked, and all the monsters were now in one place. The bad news, Zhang's plan worked, and all the monsters were now in one place. But he was excited. He said it was time to begin. All the demons started screaming and running toward him. Even surrounded, he simply pointed at one of them and created a spatial slash. The boy moved with the elegance of a ballerina. Honestly, he even spun like Michael Jackson, and the slash went in every direction. Demon heads flew into the air while the rest of the team stood there speechless. They had never seen anyone with that much power. Zhang then approached the magma creature, called the interpreter, and asked her to handle this. He questioned the monster about why they had all been so agitated this week. The girl translated. The monster said it was told to bring a certain someone. Zhang asked, "Who is this person?" and the monster repeated the same question back. The girl explained that the creature was just copying him. So he slammed the monster into the ground and said that if that was the case, then they would simply keep killing them as long as they kept coming. The boy was drenched in blood, and all that was left was to deal with the gate. He placed his hand on the ground once more and created another spatial opening, this one beneath the gate itself. The entire area was absorbed inside. Honestly, it was a pretty easy way to solve the problem. In the background, the girl said she felt safer knowing they could rely on someone like him. In just a second, Zhang finished everything, and the gate disappeared completely. The next day, back at the office, Yang entered the room and asked what he had done with the gate. The man explained that it was inside his personal dark space and that he was exhausted because of it. But she, being demanding as always, told him he should hurry and deal with everything just like he always did. The poor guy said he had his limits. It wasn't like he could manage the entire organization alone. He then turned on the TV and said he understood, and that the information he requested was all there. Photos of all the new recruits. She wanted to know why he cared so much. He explained that he was trying to understand what the demons wanted. Not only that, but why they were after him. Amid the massive piles of zombie-like monster corpses, there was a gigantic woman's body, the one with the green eye that had ordered them to bring him. Meanwhile, our boy was arriving for his first day of work. His mother had been emotional that her son got a government job. He couldn't give her many details, but she cried so much from happiness that he couldn't refuse the offer. But right away, he ran into the guy with the shirt, who asked why he had come back. The man walked away, saying he didn't want a coward near him. Maru could smell the alcohol on him. The boss greeted them and immediately said he didn't even want to stay here. He wanted to be transferred to the main city. But the leader replied that he also didn't know why level 7 agents were sent to this place. There must have been some issue with the boy for him to be assigned here. Either way, both of them were welcome to the Guan team. Maru wondered what he was supposed to do in a place like this when they weren't hunting. As soon as the man opened the door, he saw everyone fighting zombies and slicing creatures apart. But the man snapped him back to reality, and once they stepped inside, Maru realized it was just an ordinary office like any other. The Hawaiian shirt guy introduced himself as Docman, the team leader of this region. The girl from earlier was named Yan and had 7 years of experience. The guy cutting the little plants also had 7 years. His name was King Bok, and TikTok, the one we already know, had been working for 1 year. The boss told them to get along and sit anywhere. Maru said okay and walked to his desk. Shivering from the cold, he wondered if everyone else had been as stressed as he was on their first day. He awkwardly greeted the group, trying to get along, but Sue was right in front of him and told him to stop looking at him. The poor guy was crushed, while the other guy fumed about being assigned to this isolated place. And so our boy went to talk to TikTok. He was looking at brand-name clothes online, trying to figure out what they even do there. The guy at the end explained that they are a special group that deals with the yellow dust. There are 13 barracks spread across the entire city of Sioux, and people who are level 7 or above are assigned to special missions. As for the island they're on, it usually receives people who are either incapable or just weird. Right away, our boy feels at home, saying that explains why he ended up here. Still, there was something strange about this place. TikTok then mentioned that some capable people actually volunteer to come here. The two of them turned to the side, and man, the girl really trains hard. Our boy was all twisted up, and she gave him a sharp look. Dianon said it would be better for her to go back home after her station period ended, but the girl simply sat in her chair saying she didn't have any reason to return home anyway. Kongik Sichana kept noticing how strange it was that our boy ended up in a place like this. One odd thing that had happened was that she woke up without any memory of the previous day. Hearing that, Maru was alarmed. He also found out he would receive extra pay because the job was dangerous. The salary was good, but the fact that it existed made it clear that his life was always at risk. TikTok added that it was 5 times more, and then his face changed because damn, that was a lot of money. His friend finally told him to stop bothering him since he was doing something important. The poor guy sat there all crooked, saying he didn't even have anything to do in that place. Time passed, and he slowly got used to it, saying life there was way too easy. He never imagined he would get such a comfortable job with such a huge salary. Deckman stood up, stretched, and told everyone the day was over. He walked to the two new boys and asked if they had any difficulties or questions on their first day. Sue simply said no. Maru, on the other hand, said he had a question. He wanted to know exactly where the demons came from and why. The man replied that he had no idea, since no one knew. Then Sok said everyone believed the demons came from above. Maru realized that nobody had any clue where the demons came from, but also didn't seem to care. Truly, humanity was doomed. It was frustrating, but it was undeniable that he had lived his whole life without even knowing these things existed. Somehow they were doing their job, even if everything felt strange. Back at headquarters, Zhang was going down the elevator. She found Zhang standing in front of a gold capsule and asked what she thought. After checking a few documents, she said that at least the appearance rate of the creatures seemed to have returned to normal. He continued staring at a cloud of yellow smoke, trying to figure out what caused the sudden appearance of so many monsters. A Yang replied that maybe it was a sign they were getting closer to the answer behind all of this. He stood in front of what looked like an upside-down, gagged, fallen angel with white hair, saying he wasn't sure. He wanted all the leaders to stay alert for now. If the rest of the organization found out about these details, everything would descend into chaos. The scene shifted back to Maru, asking what they were talking about. People were grilling barbecue and saying that this was why they had to celebrate a lot. Ayong explained that because of this prophecy, they tried to enjoy themselves every day. Our boy asked them to properly explain what was happening. Deckman told him there was a prophecy that in 1 year, demons would start raining from the skies. Countless portals would open around the world, and the earth would be bathed in blood. Maru thought that sounded terrifying. Deckman told him to keep that information secret because it was a very classified secret. Meanwhile, Ayang told everyone to drink until they puked. TikTok wanted to go home, and Kangiksa told them to be careful because they had to work tomorrow. Apparently, Seiyu's weakness was alcohol because the poor guy was passed out. Maru, on the other hand, kept telling everyone to stop drinking while wondering why nobody was afraid of that prophecy. At that exact moment, above a mountain, a golden light shone. A gate opened in the sky, and yellow dust began pouring out. Countless hands began emerging from inside it. As soon as the bald head of the first monster appeared, everyone received a notification on their phones. Duyung complained, saying that nighttime emergencies were annoying because she wanted time to relax. But Kang immediately stood up, saying she'd be back soon. Seiyu said no, he would go with her, but she refused. They explained that she wanted to go with Senior Maru. Our beloved Maru didn't want to get involved in any of this, yet here he was, forehead pressed against the window, wondering why he ended up in a place like this. Kang then called his name. She told him he didn't need to worry so much about the prophecy. He said it wasn't something to take lightly, but she replied that she was sure the higher-ups were already preparing everything. He might not know it, but there were countless powerful people in that place. All they needed to worry about right now was locating the demons and killing them. Our boy was terrified, but also falling in love with how cool she was. Then she told him he seemed to have some kind of special ability she was excited to see. He was happy because for once, someone actually expected something from him. Then she mentioned she had never seen anyone eat the way he did. She wondered if it was some kind of power from a Gouda demon, though he had no idea what she was talking about. She explained that he literally seemed to have the ability to eat demons. He didn't look thrilled about that. In the next scene, a monster was already being impaled. She easily pinned the big-headed creature down and asked if he could really eat it. With a bright smile, she said yes. Apparently, he could stop their regeneration, so she wanted to see it in action. He was supposed to take a bite. He grabbed one of the monster's tentacles, saying that at least now he had to do this job. The creature was disgusting, but he tried to imagine it as eating food from a restaurant. He prepared himself and bit into it, though not with much enthusiasm. Hang told him to try harder, like he actually wanted to rip off a piece. He said he understood and kept chewing. The next day, back at the office, he was dying from pain. The senior immediately said he heard that Maru had vomited yesterday, calling him an idiot. Maru didn't care much. He just asked what the guy expected from him. The senior said they shouldn't have sent a useless idiot like him and should have sent someone who could actually do something. He should be grateful that Commander Kang had interest in his abilities at all. Then he walked away, saying Maru really was a useless piece of trash. Our boy was completely humiliated, but he admitted the man had a point. He needed to wake up and start putting in effort. That's when the alarm went off. Kang stood up and called his name, but he was still in the bathroom, hand on his face, wondering how he'd ever get used to eating those weird monsters. He did have an ability, which was good, but his ability was to eat monsters, which was not so great. While walking down the hallway, he ran into Kang. She jumped so hard that a little cartoon heart flew out of his mouth. She asked if he had been hiding in the bathroom. He said yes, and that he heard the alarm, but he had gotten food poisoning after biting that creature. She lowered her head and sighed, saying he really wasn't cut out for this job. She explained he didn't have to work for the government just because he had that ability. All he had to do was sign a contract saying he wouldn't talk about any of this, and then he could live under surveillance for the rest of his life. He was shocked. He expected things to be a bit easier than that. Hang said it was still better than dying on the battlefield, since people with mental fortitude like his rarely lasted long. And with the way he was acting, he might be sent to save someone and end up letting them die by mistake. It would be better if he quit now, since he clearly couldn't handle it. She leaned in very close, as beautiful as ever, and said they didn't need people who were useless. Poor guy, he was crushed. Back in the office, Dukman was asking if anyone had seen Maru. Kang realized the boy might have given up completely. You'd think he was about to enter his motivational character arc, but nope, he was standing on a bridge happily. Maybe he really shouldn't get involved in all of this. Living under surveillance was better than dying. The poor fool had no idea that he was the protagonist of the story, meaning that was never going to happen. Then he received a phone call from his mother. He picked up, thinking he didn't want to spend his life killing monsters. He answered and asked what she was doing. She said she was on her way to a hiking trip on Mount Inang. He put his hand on his face, saying he already told her to stop climbing those mountains, but the connection was bad, and she asked why there was so much yellow dust in front of her. He panicked, and the call dropped. Oh boy, now the motivation was about to hit. The security team was already on Mount Wang, preparing to deal with the demon that would appear. One of the guys stood there frozen like an idiot. Someone went to talk to him, and that's when they noticed a creature eating an arm on top of a tree. The monster, with a crystal in its forehead, looked at them and smiled as Maru was sprinting toward the mountain. In seconds, the whole squad was already lying destroyed on the ground. A level 5 demon was consuming the rookies. No one could do anything. Then the chubby woman, who was the leader of the region, arrived to handle it. She activated her duplication ability and told them to call for reinforcements while she stalled the monster. One guy ran off to use the phone. Since cell phones didn't work in that area, it was the only option. Back at headquarters, Zhang received the request and began briefing the team. She explained that the civilians in that region were in danger. If that level 5 demon descended the mountain, the entire place would be a bloodbath. They were running out of time, so everyone needed to hurry and deal with the demon. But the one already arriving there, hopping out of a taxi, was Maru, running at full speed. He reached the group headed toward the mountain and wondered where his mother was. He couldn't find her, so he approached one of the men and said he needed to go in because his mother was there. But the man told him he couldn't because there were dangerous animals inside. But our boy knew it wasn't animals, it was demons. While the others guarded the entrance, he was already climbing the mountain from the other side. He took the shortest path he could find, and while climbing he kept praying that she was safe. In the middle of the forest, covered by the yellow dust, there was someone with a twisted ankle. The most Jigayatit mom of all was there, and told her to get on her back, saying she would carry her down the mountain. That was when she saw something approaching through the fog. She wondered what it was as the hand reached upward. It was Maru, who had arrived calling for his mother and saying he was worried about her. She asked how the bastard found her, and he explained that he saw one of her posts on social media. She wanted to know what his job was, but he just said that it wasn't important for now. The other mom congratulated her, saying that this must be the son she mentioned, the one who recently got a government job. She replied yes, and that all that was left now was to get the boy married, but he wasn't popular with girls. Maru then told them to wake up and hurry down the mountain to escape whatever was coming. But that was when he noticed something. The demon was already right above him, staring directly at him. At that moment, a panic attack hit him. His breathing became shaky. He wondered how he was supposed to deal with this. Every time he saw a demon, he fainted, so how was he supposed to protect his mother? From below, the other mom said that the boy looked strange and like he was going to fall. His mother called out to Maru, and the demon suddenly turned toward her and leapt in her direction. As she reached out her hand to him, the demon was about to grab her, but our boy ran toward her, only to trip and roll down from the top of the mountain like an idiot. Now it was too late to save his mother, and the monster went in for a big bite. She tried to protect herself. He screamed for her, and at that moment an attack struck. The monster collapsed to the ground with its back bleeding. Confused, Maru wondered where those knives stuck in the creature's back had come from. His mother wanted to know where this strange beast appeared from and what was on her son's head. When he looked up, he saw the source of the knives. Now we finally understand. The guy can steal the powers of the monsters he eats. He remembered exactly the creature he had fought that had this same ability. He felt something strange on his back, and another knife appeared, which he seemed able to control. He knew this was that demon's ability, so why did he have it now? As far as he knew, his power was to stop demons from regenerating after eating a piece of them. Or maybe, apparently, he really could absorb their abilities. Now, with this new ability, he felt confident that he could kill the creature. With the stab on its back, it was already on the ground crawling, so it was weaker than he expected. He only found it odd that everyone on the mountain struggled with something like this. Meanwhile, one of the mountain guys was lying against a railing, and someone approached asking if he was okay. Both were from headquarters and wanted to know why he had let the demon escape. Trembling, he explained that the monster was terrifying and had wiped out his team. Scratching his chin, the man said it was hard to believe, especially because the leader of this place was a level 7 user. The slick-haired guy asked what the level 5 demon's ability was. The man then explained that it had the mirror ability. At that moment, something shined on the creature's back, and Maru was terrified. The attack he had just thrown at the creature had been copied. Before Maru could react, the monster struck back, stabbing crystals all over his body. The boy, now mentally tougher, was just shocked that the damn thing had copied his abilities. Slowly the creature approached, and he saw the mirror on its forehead. Immediately he assumed it must be a reflection ability that copied what he did. He raised his hand and positioned his fingers, and the creature mimicked the exact same movement. He realized any attack could be dangerously reflected. Looking back, the woman was shouting his mother's name. He approached and saw her knee was cut. She was worried about his injuries, but he was more worried that she couldn't regenerate in this place. Our boy showed his abdomen and told her not to worry because he was safe. The DNA gated ran through his veins. Even without a single day of training, he had a defined abdomen. And now he knew that to protect his mother, he had to kill that creature, no matter what. He told both women to hide, saying he would handle it. His mother looked frightened, but he turned and said, "I am a public servant who protects civilians." He said he would solve this in 1 second and be right back. He launched himself at the monster, grabbed it by the waist, and carried it down from the top of the mountain. His mother screamed, and crows flew upward. The boy managed to land on a higher ledge, while the monster fell to the bottom. He stood up crookedly as he slowly regenerated. His goal for now was to keep the demon as far away from his mother as possible. If he bought enough time, the mountain team would arrive to deal with it, and everything would be fine. However, the two headquarters guys ran into something worse than that. It wasn't just one level 5 creature. Countless clones were invading like monkeys. They all looked around as the man tried to understand why the monsters looked so similar. The bald one said that the mountain's leader had duplication abilities, so it seemed she had been copied. He knew he had to destroy the main body, but which one of them was the real body? He says that it doesn't really matter. He just has to kill all of that. He throws himself forward and slams a punch into the ground, creating an impact that sends everything flying away. The bald man thinks his friend is truly an ignoramus, but he is certain that, judging by how they were fighting, the main target wasn't there. Obviously, the real one is the creature absorbing yellow dust right below our boy. He realizes that the damn thing regenerates just as fast as he does. The problem is that he himself is starting to grow exhausted from regenerating so much. Then a voice asks Maru what the problem is. He notices that the demon is copying his mother's voice, tells the bastard not to do that, and throws some knives in its direction. However, the attacks miss completely. He says that controlling another creature's ability really isn't that easy. The beast carefully prepares a crystal and strikes him squarely in the shoulder. That only makes him even angrier. Now he fires an entire barrage at the creature, landing a solid hit on its shoulder as well. The boy celebrates, but the thing snaps, and in an instant it regenerates again. He now realizes that they share the same offensive ability, but on the other hand, the creature's recovery isn't as good as his. That's when he remembers something important. Obviously, it's a conversation he had with the gecko, who said that apparently he never listens to what she says. Our battered boy says that maybe he just isn't made for this. However, Alice of Cosmos helps him to his feet and tells him that he's just afraid of getting hurt. He has to learn that injuries will recover in the yellow dust, so there's no problem. The issue is that the pain is the same, not to mention that he has to eat those devils to recover. She squeezes his hand tightly, and he asks if there might be another, better way to fight. Kang, thoughtful, says that to kill a creature like that, you have to cut off its head and prevent it from using the yellow dust. But since the boy has no real attack abilities, all he can do is provide support. On the other hand, he has superior recovery skills, so he shouldn't be afraid of facing monsters head-on. Back in the fight, he says that his ability is the best, so he won't be afraid. Besides, thanks to the ability of gluttony, he also has the strength to kill this monster. The problem is that he has no idea how to aim this thing properly, so landing a precise hit on the neck will be difficult. The monkey continues imitating his mother, asking what the problem is. Maru then comes to the conclusion that if he can't aim properly, there's only one solution. He throws another crystal at the monkey, which dodges. However, the moment the creature looks up again, our boy has already leapt towards it. There's no time for the beast to react, and he activates the yellow sand. The monster blocks the attack with its mouth, biting down on the blade. Worse still, the creature swings its massive hand and grabs him by the neck. Sue moves close to his face and asks Maru why he acts this way. It slams him against a rock, throws both of them to the top of the mountain, and crashes down, crushing the ground. The poor boy can't breathe and can't use the gluttony ability. He needs to eat a piece of this thing, but the monster isn't close enough. Then the monkey lunges in and bites his neck. Maru has no room to bite back, so he pulls a knife from his back and shoves the beast aside. He tries to stop the bleeding, while the monster simply watches. The problem is that the dizziness starts to set in, and his vision begins to blur. The wound isn't healing, and he wonders if the damn monkey copied his ability to block regeneration. With the amount of blood he's losing, he has no idea how much longer he has to live. If he fails here, what will happen? That's when he remembers another powerful moment, when he was with Kangen, who asked how many times he planned to pass out. He explained that it was a panic attack, and that he didn't have proper control over it. His chest tightens, he can't think of anything, and all he feels is the sensation of death. She replied that this is exactly why he has to overcome something like this as soon as possible. At this pace, the next time he felt like he was going to die, he truly would. He has to understand that he is the last line of defense for civilians. If he falls, others die. Back in the present, the gatekeeper mother walks around calling his name. Incredibly, our boy is still alive, holding his neck, though his expression looks far from healthy. He grips a crystal in his hand, and the monkey copies him. He remembers Kangen saying that even if he dies, he has to take this monster with him. He bites his own mouth in rage, screams, and charges towards the beast. The monster crouches, dodges, and lands a solid blow to his ribs. Strangely, Maru throws his gauze upward, and the monkey once again asks what Maru thinks he's doing. He grabs the monster and starts screaming. With that, all the crystals he had thrown around the area so far fly towards him. Since the monkey is standing still, it takes them all in the back. Actually, both of them do. My God, I thought it would only hit the monster, but they both got wrecked. At least the last crystal he had thrown upward comes down perfectly, slicing the creature's head clean off. Arm torn off, head severed, everything ripped away, leaving only the monster's stump. With that, Maru staggers and collapses backwards, completely exhausted. The operation base team sees the creatures dissolving and wonders if they killed the leader. The bald man answers that they did not. Someone killed that creature somewhere else, and now he needs to know who did it. Back with Maru, his injuries are recovering after the monster's death. Even so, this time was brutal. He truly thought he had almost crossed over to the next life. As he walks away thinking about saving his mother, his father suddenly appears behind him, ordering him to eat. He points at Maru and tells him to go back and eat what is there. Now it makes sense why this crazy father had been telling him to eat from the very beginning. Apparently the bastard already knew. Maru knows that that creature had a powerful and unique ability. If he consumes it, maybe he'll gain another power that will be essential. This is because he clearly remembers the prophecy the Yokeman spoke about, saying that creatures would rain from the skies within a year. Motivated by the desire to be strong enough to protect his mother, he approaches the creature and grabs its arm. With that, the boy begins his daily meal once again. Now the kid looks confident, saying that from now on he will eat any strong demon he encounters. The rascal even licks his lips. Sometime later, his mother wakes up in the hospital and asks if she really passed out on the mountain. She doesn't seem to care much and says she just doesn't remember anything. Our boy feels relieved, since it seems she truly doesn't remember. After all, in theory, she should know everything that happened, since the monster confronted her face to face. He shows her a news report about everything that happened on the mountain, and tells her not to get involved in dangerous situations anymore. His mother then says she heard that someone who looked like his father was seen on the mountain, which is why she decided to take a look. That's when Maru starts putting the pieces together. His father also disappeared on a mountain, so maybe there is a connection to the demons. In a memory, he is in the forest, looking upward with a terrified expression, spitting red blood and nearly losing his life. He sees his father having his arm eaten. Apparently, this is the first time he has managed to remember something like this, and a panic attack begins to set in. However, Gaedid's mother snaps him back to reality, asking why her son looks so pale. Apparently, working for the government really was exhausting. Awkwardly, he tells her not to worry and says he's getting used to it. Back at work, someone calls out for Officer Rimaru. He had been hiding awkwardly, then steps out and greets everyone with a good morning. Nisa asks what happened yesterday and why he disappeared without saying a word. Someone replies that it's pretty obvious. The coward got scared and ran away. Instead of revealing that he left to save his mother, Maru simply apologizes. Meanwhile, Canistano, who looks more beautiful every day, says that Maru was sick, so she gave him a day off. He feels confused about why she's defending him, but the girl just stares at him, as if to say, "Don't tell anything." Nady W says she should have reported something like that. She apologizes. Dion, however, scolds her, saying she can't just apologize after making a mistake like that. Before the midday argument can start, the bell rings. At that moment, Kang is already changing clothes, saying she's going to kill a level 2 demon. This time, however, an excited Maru shouts that he's going too. Everyone falls silent when they see the boy suddenly filled with motivation. Sometime later, they are climbing the mountain. On the way, he apologizes for her taking the blame for the foolish thing he did. She replies that she knows he left because she said some harsh things, so it's fine. What she wants to know is why he came back. Our boy is sweaty and exhausted from climbing only half the mountain, but he says he's there to fight now. Then the yellow dust appears, and in the distance they can see the silhouette of a large, fat creature. The ground trembles as the monster begins charging toward them. It is a fat, gray old man, screaming that he's ready for battle. Kang says that even though it's level 2, they shouldn't underestimate it. The entire Inong mountain team was wiped out by a mere level 5 monster. Maru knows this is the same one he beat up yesterday. Then the TikToker comments that the people there were lucky the central unit killed the creature. Everyone there is above level 7, so they're incredible. Maru freezes. He doesn't know whether to say that he was the one who killed it. The problem is that he left early yesterday, and that would raise too many questions. He wants to be admired for his hard work, too. At that moment, Kang asks what the demon is doing. The creature has its hands under its arms, fiddling with its armpits. Someone tells everyone to stay back. It's Maru, saying that he'll handle this. She looks surprised and asks what kind of level 1 ability user thinks they can defeat a level 2 demon. He points to himself and says that guy is him. He steps face to face with the demon and pulls his hair back. The boy has absorbed the mirror ability. It's time to show how much he has evolved since killing that monster on the mountain. He starts moving his arms confidently, saying that he is no longer a useless member of the team. At that moment, a terrible odor spreads through the air, and the monster screams that the ability was supposed to be his. Even Maruto is on his side, staggering from the stench he produced, and he rushes in with a punch, shouting that he won't lose to trash like that. He lands several blows to the monster's belly, making it groan, while the TikToker covers his face, saying this must be the monster's attack, even though it feels more like chemical warfare. Looking to the side, Kang is staggering. He has to help her stay on her feet, wondering how a level 7 user could be affected so badly by something like this. Meanwhile, Maru keeps swinging his arms in an intense duel against the beast. The poor thing starts crying, saying that at this pace it won't last, and that the entire team will be wiped out. Maru continues swinging his arms, saying that since he's smaller, he can move faster. The monster keeps copying him until Maru gathers all the power of the yellow dust and releases a mist tornado. The creature spits it out, starts vomiting, and collapses to the ground. With that, the monster is defeated. He turns to the other two and says that he won, right? No one seems particularly excited about the victory. Sometime later, they all go to bathe in the river. Kang keeps her eyes on Maru and asks whether he can now absorb demon abilities by eating them through gluttony. He says yes, and explains that the last one he consumed had the ability to reflect the enemy power. Suddenly, the TikToker starts mocking him, imitating the way Maru said he would handle the problem, and laughing at how hilarious it was that he gave such an epic speech just to use such a weird ability. Maru feels awkward, since that was all he could do. Kang says it doesn't matter. He did a good job, and it's good to see that he's evolving. He blushes deeply, until she adds that it's still pretty disgusting that he has to eat those creatures. That completely ruins the boys' romantic moment, and they move on, saying they still need to check if there are any more demons around. Sitting down, Maru wonders why, just when he wanted to look cool, he had to run into such a weird creature and end up humiliated. That's when someone appears behind him and asks if he's Rimaru. He covers his face and asks who it is. Jung only wants to know if he was the one who killed the level 5 creature on the mountain, which is strange since he's supposed to be a level 1 ability user. Maru, feeling awkward, answers yes. That's when he reveals that he's there to take him to Seir's headquarters. Maru realizes this is some kind of promotion and feels confused. Jung simply asks if he knows about the headquarters. Maru says yes. As far as he knows, that's where the elite work, so why would he be taken there? The man smiles confidently and says it's because he recognizes potential in people. Back at headquarters, Yo Young Young asks the director why he was late for the meeting. He explains that there was a new recruit who caught his attention. She asks if it's the son, the boy named Manhwa. Now it makes sense why she disliked him the second she saw him. He belongs to the other side. The director explains that the boy hasn't spoken to him since the divorce. The person he's interested in is actually another new recruit. The woman asks if the appearance of several high-level monsters might be related to this recruit. He says yes, that he has that feeling, and that they should keep an eye on the island of Ghana. The scene shifts to another yellow dust portal, inside what appears to be a house. There is a small creature there, a strange, skinny thing that looks like Smeagol. Back at the police station, Maru is smiling proudly, clearly happy that he was invited to work at the Nairal headquarters. It's incredible. The problem, however, is that he realizes if he's being called there, it means even greater danger awaits. He reminds himself that safety comes first, and that things are peaceful here. Still, it feels good to be recognized by someone at the very top. Soon after, Slavando calls out to him, asking why he's had that stupid grin on his face all day. It's obvious how an insignificant level 1 enjoys staying comfortable and doing nothing in this office. Maru snaps back, saying that the other guy is the incompetent one, because he wants to be at headquarters but isn't, so he has no right to say anything. The idiot jumps up in anger, telling him to repeat that, saying there's no way he'll listen to a lecture from someone whose ability is smelly armpits. Maru immediately demands to know who the bastard was that spread this rumor. Suddenly, it all clicks, and he already knows who it was. Feeling the pressure of Maru's rising flames, he runs away, while another man laughs at both of them. Nisa-John tells everyone to stop messing with poor Maru. He thanks her, saying she's truly a good person, until she claps her hands and reminds him that he used to hide in the bathroom. At least now he can stink openly. Maru realizes things have only gotten worse, and the embarrassment won't go away. Watching Kang, he hates her indifference and how she doesn't seem to care about anything. Even after the help he gave that day, he's still seen as incompetent in that place. He looks at Zhang's contact, who told him to send a message once he had decided. Suddenly, Kang stands up and announces that a level 2 creature has appeared. At that moment, Maru grabs her arm and says that this time, he's going. He's bored to death in that place, and he'll explode if he stays there any longer. He then tells Hanmaru to come with him, saying it would be good for amateurs to start understanding each other better. On the way to the mountain, the two of them are sweating under the scorching sun. However, when it comes to going out to hunt monsters, he looks more excited than when he sees Kang. Maru, on the other hand, doesn't want to spend another second near this psychopath. He just wants to finish this quickly and go back. The psychopath suddenly stops and says that this job won't be so easy. When Maru looks around, they see that the entire house is covered in yellow dust. Maru believes there might be more than one creature inside, but the man simply moves forward and tells him to follow. The gate opens and Maru stays off to the side, watching nervously. Strangely, an enormous amount of dust is pouring out from inside, enough to suggest a level 4 creature. They enter the house, and Maru says it would be better to turn back, since these creatures can appear out of nowhere. Siu doesn't stop and keeps moving forward. Eventually, they come face to face with a green door. He's certain the monster is right behind it. However, when he turns the doorknob, he realizes it's locked. Maru steps forward and warns that it's dangerous because they don't know what's on the other side. The man has already put on his glove and says that if it won't open, he can just break it. He twists his finger, trying to force it open. Maru jumps in surprise, but nothing happens. Confused, Maru tells him to stop acting so confident when he can't even open a door. Siu then looks through the keyhole. Sitting at the back of the room, he can see a skinny, devilish creature. The man pushes Maru aside, saying he wants to look too. After seeing it crouched in the corner, he says the creature looks weak. However, he warns that by the amount of dust, the creature must be at least level 7 or higher. Shocked, Maru asks why something so strong would be on this island. Siu says he has no idea, but now he understands why his heart has been racing for so long. He's eager to face a truly powerful monster. Maru starts running, saying this lunatic is putting both their lives at risk and that they should call Central immediately. However, when he tries the lock, it won't open. He starts panicking, asking why they can't leave the same way they entered. That's when he realizes it must obviously be the work of the demon hiding in the room. Meanwhile, Siu starts kicking and punching the door, trying to break it open, shouting for the damned recluse to come out so they can fight. Maru, on the other hand, doesn't want to spend a single second fighting this demon or this psychopath, especially knowing the creature is a rich demon with power above level 7. The clay-headed creature stands there silently, then starts repeating that it is lonely. It keeps repeating, lonely, lonely, as its face begins to twist. It looks at his fingers, not realizing his entire hand has already been broken, yet the door doesn't even have a scratch. What kind of material was this thing made of? Meanwhile, Maru starts smashing a chair against the window, but unfortunately that doesn't work either. It seems the power of this lonely demon is to create a trap house. At that moment, Maru's chest tightens. The situation triggers a panic attack, and he wonders if the people from the office will ever arrive. 2 hours pass, and he's already furious, wondering if those bastards forgot about them. Back at the office, someone says there's a problem. An looks around and realizes they really forgot the training date in Busan. Everyone starts flipping through files and working frantically, saying they're trying to fix it. Kang starts typing furiously, stands up, grabs a file, and hands it over. He thanks everyone for their hard work and says he'll see them tomorrow. An sits down on the couch and says that after such hard work, they should calmly go have some coffee. Everyone relaxes for a brief moment of peace. Then they all suddenly ask, where are those two who disappeared 3 hours ago? Kang slaps her own face, saying that this is exactly why beginners shouldn't be sent alone. Strangely, she calls for TikTok and tells Kang and another guy to stay behind. Thank God she's beautiful and amazing as always. Thank you, artist, for dedicating extra time. She stands up and says she's going too because she has a bad feeling. She passes by Di Wong's house, gives it a sharp look, and warns that the place is very close to the other location. So is she really going there? The girl seems to have some kind of trauma. She stands up and says to go immediately. If I had to bet $1 trillion, I'd say her family was killed by demons. That must be why she's so motivated to kill them. The scene shifts back to the house. Everyone arrives asking where the two are. Through the dust, they see a silhouette approaching. It's the two idiots, desperate, shouting for them not to let the door close, but it's too late. The door slams shut in their faces. The idiots wonder why they went in like that. Desperate, lying on the ground, An asks what happened to them. The situation is explained. They realize the demon clearly doesn't want to come out. Sakong tells everyone to step back, pulls her mummy-like arm, forming a katana, and swings it. Obviously, nothing happens. Sor is shocked that not even her attack left a scratch. Then Dilmam speaks up and tells everyone to wait, saying she will handle it. She pulls back her jacket sleeve and a small black sphere appears on her arm. From it, a tiny spider emerges, and guess what her ability is called? Spider Demon. She tells Minnie to go inside, but unfortunately the lock is smaller than her chubby spider, so it doesn't fit. Our boy watches her conferring with Spider and comments that apparently this one is the strangest of them all. Siu then tells Tai-Tak to do something instead of just standing there. Tai-Tak replies that he doesn't have any abilities. Maru takes the opportunity to mock him, saying judging by his performance in battle, he's useless. The boy snaps back, saying Maru is the useless one. Where are all the abilities he's been absorbing? Why doesn't he use the needle power to lock everything down? The protagonist explains that the creature is too far away, he can't see it clearly, and his powers can't reach that far. At that moment, it feels like everyone there is useless. Siu asks who's going to save us, since there's no one else from the office. Dean won't be back till tomorrow. That's when someone reminds them that they still have King nearby. The old man with glasses suddenly appears, startling everyone. They ask when he arrived, and he calmly answers that he came because no one had returned yet. Everyone is shocked. This weirdo has zero presence. You can't even sense him arriving. He walks over to the lock, takes a look, and Dilmam asks if he can handle it. Suddenly, he lies down on the floor and starts taking a nap. Maru wonders whether the guy is extremely calm or has some bizarre ability. Dilmam explains that she has no idea what his ability is because she has never seen him use it. The situation feels hopeless. Everyone who came to rescue them so far has been useless. An claps her hands and tells everyone to focus and try to find a way out together. However, the old man reminds her that they've already tried everything, so there's no way out. Someone asks if he's really prepared to die without doing anything. TikTok tells them to wait for the leader. Meanwhile, our boy nervously bites his nails. In the background, he wonders why Kong is standing there without doing anything. It feels strange. He also wonders why the demon isn't moving or attacking them. At that moment, everyone trembles as a sudden impact shakes the house. Kong immediately runs, saying it came from the main room. She opens the door and looks inside. It seems like the entire room is moving. The walls and ceiling are closing in, and the house looks like it's shrinking. Siyu realizes that the purpose of that lonely RCK demon has become obvious. It will keep reducing the space until the house becomes nothing but its own room. Maru knows that since they can't destroy the walls, they'll eventually be crushed to death. No one knows what to do, and our boy desperately needs a solution. The scene shifts to 4 years earlier. Two women are gathering plants. A younger Kong arrives and greets them, and the woman, who might be her sister, runs over and hugs her. A happy family in the mountains. You already know this won't end well. The two were clearly close and talked about growing up together with their grandmother. Kong noticed a drawing on the wall and tells her sister to stop or she'll get scolded. Her sister replies that it's a picture of their happy family. And now that very wall is the one shrinking. It's the house Kong grew up in. In that moment, she activates her blood-based power, forming a massive sword and slashing the wall. However, the house keeps shrinking and the sword starts breaking. She realizes she needs to use more blood. Her body begins to grow larger and becomes fully mummified. Her neck starts turning gray. Someone tells her to stop because it's becoming dangerous. Maru runs forward and pulls her away, breaking the sword and dragging her out of the room just in time. She cries as she watches everything disappear. Shortly after, she passes out, and Jumon tries to wake her. The protagonist realizes she fainted from excessive blood loss. What he doesn't understand is why she went that far just for a wall. That's when Joe reveals that the house belonged to Kong's grandmother. She lost both her grandmother and her younger brother while living there. She barely survived alone, and that's when she awakened her abilities. Maru finally understands why she reacted that way, and why she seems so terrified. Siuk says that at least for now, the house has stopped shrinking. They need to find a way out quickly before they run out of rooms. Using a small piece of wall that was chipped off, On mutters that constant pressure eventually breaks even stone. After some time, the sound of attacks echoes through the forest. Siu manages to open a tiny hole using his knife and countless strikes. Everyone else has already exhausted all their energy and can't do anything anymore. The knife falls near Maru, and Siuk tells him that now it's his turn. Maru stands up, his arms still numb and his throat dry with thirst. Just as he's about to begin, Kong snatches the knife from him and says she'll do it. He tells her to rest a little longer, but she insists she's fine. She walks up to the wall and starts scraping it. Our boy comments that he heard this was her grandmother's house. He found it strange that such an abandoned place was so clean. Apparently, she's been taking care of it. Kong explains that she's been waiting for the day the demon who killed her family would return. Maru didn't understand how she knew the creature would return one day. Then she explained that the demon back then was completely different. A creature with a feminine silhouette came out of the gate. At that moment, she was terrified and couldn't move. When she looked to the side, another one was approaching. This one had a masculine body, stared directly at her, and clearly showed awareness and intelligence. It had a purpose beyond simply killing people. She knows that if the prophecy comes true, that creature will appear again. Now Maru understands why she's on this island's team, even though she's an S-rank user. She asks if he's disappointed by her reason, if it sounds too cliché. Maru says no. He's there because he couldn't run away, and because the salary is good. She hits the wall again and says that if that's the case, sooner or later he'll end up there anyway, because the pay there is much better. He asks how she knows that, and she explains that she saw Jung talking to him the other day. When she's about to explain why she's certain he'll do a good job, the entire place starts moving again. Everyone shouts for them to run to the corridor and escape. In the middle of the chaos, Maru is still curious what she was going to say. The next morning, the house has already shrunk to half its original size. Everyone is exhausted, wondering if this will ever end. Ook says that their only chance of getting out alive is the leader, but why hasn't he arrived yet? Meanwhile, King and Bok are still sleeping peacefully. Someone complains that while everyone else is desperately trying to escape, those two aren't even awake. Suddenly, everything starts shaking again. Once more, Maru says they need to move Ibok out of the corridor. but Ebok is standing there with fungus growing all over his face, looking like a ghost. Everyone grabs Ebok, demanding to know what he did. He explains that he has a mold fungus demon, but it takes a long time to spread. Everyone starts clapping and praising him, saying he did an amazing job and that he's incredible. Ebok looks embarrassed, and Sim-young tells everyone to stay focused because they haven't won yet. The demon stands in front of them, crying. Then something appears behind it. A large number of creatures emerge and stare at them. The lonely one wasn't so lonely, that's what Maru thinks, as all of them leap forward to attack. A strange red line extends from its back, and Aang tells Isak to hide everyone. Isak activates his zero presence ability, which is almost like invisibility. Kang keeps advancing and cutting down the demons, but the corridor is narrow and her sword keeps getting stuck in the walls. When that happens, the creatures start running along her blade. Just as she thinks she's about to be attacked, Maru lunges in and bites one on the neck, even as he's being devoured. He stretches his hand upward and closes it. The ceiling begins to descend. TikTok shouts that everyone is going to die, but Maru says no. He's going to show them the power of the mirror ability. He throws his arms up and commands the ceiling to stop. His friend praises him, but the demons are still attacking. Then one demon's head is crushed when Su breaks a finger. Su tells Maru to hide inside the barrier, reminding him that he's only level 1. Maru tries to warn him to be careful, but it's too late. He gets bitten on the shoulder, the arm, the stomach, with countless creatures crawling over him. Then white strands suddenly pierce through the monsters. Junwo's small spider has now become gigantic. Its eyes are closed, as if it has taken control of the creature. While Kang slices through the monsters and Su kills them by snapping fingers, Maru and Su stare at each other inside the barrier. They start joking, teasing each other, praising their friends, saying they really work hard, right? Embarrassing themselves like idiots. Meanwhile, Demo asks why that room seems to be producing endless creatures. As soon as Maru hears that, he runs off, saying he'll handle it now. He asks them to clear a path, and Kang does. He pushes through the monsters and drops into the room. Hidden behind all the Smeagol-like creatures, the real demon is crouched there. Maru realizes that the bastard had only been fighting using a clone. Every time one was destroyed, another appeared. Maru raises his arms and says that if that's the case, he'll bring the ceiling down and let the demons stay there. As soon as he does, he tries to run for the exit, but his power is too strong. The ceiling descends too fast. He sees his friends and reaches out his arm. He's saved at the last second. Now outside, everyone celebrates. They praise his mirror ability, saying it's truly incredible. Kang looks away, remembering the memories she shared there with her grandmother and her brother. Maru noticed that and deactivated the mirror ability, since it was no longer useful now that the creature was dead. He looked at the monster lying on the ground and moved to devour it. While everyone wondered what he was doing, he had already swallowed the beast. He needed to act fast to take advantage of the yellow dust still floating in the air. By doing that, he activated the creature's ability and began pushing the walls. The problem was that using the power consumed the dust, and soon he could no longer move them. Aang grabbed his arm and told him it was fine, thanking him. At least the amount he had restored was enough for the drawing to appear again. Back at the office, Diyun arrived excited, saying that today something good was going to happen. That was when he noticed there was no one there. He had gone out of his way to buy the tastiest bread from Busan, so where was everyone? He looked toward the break room and wondered if those idiots were still sleeping in the morning. Soon after, he received a call from Zhang and asked what was going on. Zhang explained that he had called Maru to go to headquarters, but Maru refused, and he wanted to know why. Diyun decided to go check it out himself and ended up seeing the girl sleeping peacefully, looking beautiful, while our boy was sweating and smelling bad. Life was not perfect yet for him, but he was slowly adjusting to the team. Next scene, a sudden cut. Our guy is completely torn in half. Someone shouts for him to run. Now we go back 7 hours earlier. This is what I call a spoiler. Our boy was extremely sleepy, saying that when he looked for a job, he never imagined it would be this hard just to earn a little money. He was still exhausted from fighting the demon earlier. Then he heard a car passing by, and it was a familiar luxury vehicle. Obviously, it was his jerk of a rich acquaintance, that damn millionaire. Our boy shamelessly went over and asked for a ride. The guy told him to get lost, sped up, and drove away. A TikToker appeared, commenting that he was jealous of that bastard who even had an imported car, which seemed strange for a public servant. Maru agreed, saying the guy was weird after all. IS added that even though the guy was handsome, rich, and tall, none of that mattered, because he had a trash personality and probably no friends. The two laughed, but Maru thought to himself that he had none of those things either, and he didn't even have a friend, so he was just losing. Next scene, they arrive at the empty office. Diun opened his arms dramatically and praised our guy, calling him an incredible level 7 ability user. He was confused and pushed the boss away, saying he had no idea what they were talking about. That was when Diun explained that since he had eaten a level 7 creature and stolen its abilities, he was now level 7 himself. The boss slapped him on the back, saying he always thought the kid would just get in the way, but now he was finally useful. Our guy felt warm inside, thinking how good it felt to be recognized by the team. Nas commented that his talent was truly impressive, and that it was the first time he had seen someone who would continue getting stronger. Suddenly, Seno slammed his hand on the table and said that work hours had already started, so they should stop chatting. Everyone noticed how much that bastard hated him for no reason. He had been humiliated before for being a level 1, and now he was paying the price for it. Then Koizalinda tapped his shoulder and asked if they could talk for a bit. Outside, sitting on a bench, he asked what it was about. She said she wanted to thank him for what happened at her grandmother's house the day before. Feeling awkward, he said they were a team, so it was only natural. Suddenly, she turned to him and said that after that incident, she was sure about how she felt toward him. Our boy blushed, wondering what was coming next. Then she said she was certain he was not a level 1 ability user. Disappointment hit hard. He asked her to explain. She said not even Ferrando could recover that well with a level 1 power. He remembered the chubby creature with the big belly and said that was the first one he had bitten, and it was definitely level 1. Kang then asked if he had seen another demon before starting work there. He thought for a moment and said he would never forget something that important. That was when he noticed smoke behind her back. Panic instantly set in. A black paw appeared, and a wolf-like demon stared straight at him. He dropped the can, and she asked what was wrong. He told her not to worry, saying that sometimes his mind imagined scary things. She played along, grabbed his hand, and told him not to worry, that he was safe with her by his side. She said she was certain there was something special about him. Then Diun appeared and asked if they were done flirting at the office. Embarrassed, he quickly said no, they were not in a relationship like that. Kang added that in a year it might rain gold in that place, but a relationship still wouldn't make sense. She wasn't thinking about anything like that. Those words crushed our boy. That blow was more brutal than an attack from a level 10 demon. He sat there on the bench, completely dead inside. Doc mocked the boy, and our guy tried to defend himself, saying he had already explained that it wasn't exactly like that. Still, at the same time, those words really hurt him, right, guys? Some time passed, and Diun mentioned that before leaving, it would be good to check the alerts. Meanwhile, she and our guy were climbing the mountains. Since that conversation on the bench, he felt strange being at her side. Kang reached the meter and began taking notes on the yellow dust. Maru, on the other hand, was convinced that he truly had no time for a relationship, since everything would end in a year anyway. Both of them were thinking that they needed to find a way to kill those damn demons. Suddenly, the phone started ringing. It was a request for help coming from Zone 3, and Isako was on the line. He warned them that the leader of Yokimon had already been defeated, and that the creature was heading in their direction. He told them to be careful, and then the call suddenly cut out. Aang said something was wrong. Dokimon was a level 10 ability user, and he had been defeated. Maru was shocked to learn that that lazy guy was actually a level 10 monster. Yellow dust began to appear, and Kang warned him to be careful. The demon approaching them was unlike anything they had ever faced. Its presence became clear, and the two prepared themselves. Then, a thin creature wearing a kimono appeared before them. The monster glanced at them, surprising both of them. He said it was a pleasure to meet humans, and asked if they could have a little chat. He explained that he was interested in speaking with whoever was in charge around here. Maru was impressed. Not only could it speak, but it communicated exactly like a human. Kang told him to stay alert, but the monster asked them not to be hostile. He said he did not want to fight, and that he was truly there just to talk. Maru did not understand what kind of conversation it wanted, but she reminded him that she had warned him not to talk to demons. The protagonist, however, ignored the warning and said it might be a good opportunity to gather information. He then asked where the creature was from. The demon replied that he came from Naraka. The boy did not know where that was, and the demon explained that it was the deepest part of hell. Those who committed grave sins in their lives were imprisoned there, trapped in endless darkness and forced to fight forever. Maru understood what the demon meant and said yes. Every demon there had once been human. That realization hit him hard. He remembered eating those creatures, which meant he had been eating people. He immediately started vomiting. The demon then said it was his turn to ask a question. Maru trembled for a moment, until Kang grabbed his arm and told him to stop talking. Even if a demon looked friendly on the outside, she was certain this one was the same creature that had killed their leader. She prepared a massive spear, but the demon told her to stop. He claimed he disliked violence. She did not hesitate and lunged toward him, ready to attack. The demon smiled and said that killing him now would not avenge her brother. She froze in shock. She saw how easily he redirected the spear with a single finger, while saying it was her fault for being weak and letting her brother die. Suddenly, memories flooded back. Her brother stepping forward to protect her. Honestly, he looked a lot like our boy, did he not? With a hole in his chest, he told her to run, then collapsed. She cried desperately. Back in the present, she had no idea how this demon knew all of that. The demon said that as the older sister, she should have protected him, yet her younger brother still died. Maru called out to Kang and ran to hold her in his arms. Where had all that blood come from? He had not even noticed anything happening. Maru realized that the creature could perform some kind of psychological attack. That was bad. If there was anyone mentally vulnerable here, it was him. The demon said they could continue the conversation and leave that pathetic human aside. Maru snapped. He shouted no and told the monster to shut its filthy mouth. He leapt forward, saying he would not let it talk about her like that. He punched the demon in the head, sending it crashing into the rocks. The creature was still adjusting its teeth when Maru went in for a second strike. Suddenly, the demon said that he was acting this way because he had just been rejected by her. Out of nowhere, Maru froze. A sharp feeling passed through him, and his heart felt wounded. He said that made no sense because he had never been rejected before. That emotion had never shaken him, so why was he suddenly feeling dizzy? He did not have romantic feelings for her. He only thought she was a really nice person and incredibly strong. Meanwhile, she lay on the ground, apologizing. He paused for a second, but then his heart felt like it was about to burst into a pool of red. The demon picked up a stone and said he hated emotions because they were the weakness of humans. Not even when he was human had he ever felt something like that. He walked closer to Maru and asked why he wasn't responding. Had a cat cut his tongue? Now the protagonist understood why not even a level 10 ability user could defeat something like this. The demon tossed the stone into the air and said it was time to end this since the boy could not even speak anymore. He stood there thinking that unless someone completely cold-hearted, without any emotions appeared, there was no way he could be saved. The stone was about to strike and finish him off when suddenly the creature's entire body twisted violently. The emotionless bastard appeared, asking why a level 1 was lying there on the ground. Our boy smiled and said he had never been so happy to see that psychopath. The man, however, immediately asked why the kid was smiling like that out of nowhere. Then they heard the monster say that it only tickled a little. The creature adjusted its head and said that its vocal cords were very hard to break, especially considering how low their levels were. That insult hit both of their egos. The monster asked if they were asking for a beating. The two stood face to face with the creature, and our boy warned him to be careful because that thing used psychological attacks. The emotionless one simply told him to watch and said he would show him how to deal with it. Obviously, our boy was furious and wanted to kill that bastard, but he had no choice. They had to deal with this together. The man snapped another finger, and with that, a part of the demon's body cracked. The demon attacked the wound and told the boy that if that was all he had, he would never earn his father's approval. Nothing happened. The man kept breaking fingers and attacking, while the monster laughed, saying that the guy was emotionless just like him. That was probably what happened when you were the child of a woman who took her own life after being abandoned by her husband. Now came the background explaining why the man was so broken. Maru had no idea of any of this. He thought the guy was just a spoiled rich kid. Not even someone as cold as him could ignore such a psychological attack. Still, he stopped when he noticed the demon laughing. The monster asked what any of that had to do with him. The blame was not his, but the mother's, for being too weak. He struck the demon in the neck and said that in this world, only the strong survive. The demon smiled and replied that if that was true, then the man would not survive either, because he was far weaker than Maru. That attack finally worked. The psychological damage hit him hard. But our boy stepped in front, blocked the strike, and said he had already learned the pattern. The demon disoriented people with psychological attacks and then launched a blade from its mouth. At that moment, Kang rushed in and cut the demon's tongue. The creature began screaming in agony. She asked if he was okay, and our boy, completely smitten, said, as expected, she was amazing. Like an idiot in love, he had to remind himself to focus on the fight. He shook the man and told him to wake up and break free from the illusion. Still, the words about being weaker than Maru hurt deeply. On the other hand, our boy felt proud of someone like him and even envied him. He stepped on the man lightly and told him to recover, saying it wasn't that bad to be weaker than him. He could still be a really cool guy. For now, though, Maru was still cooler. Suddenly, the man woke up and said that was obvious since he was just a trash level 1. The three of them stared at the boss and agreed they had to kill it before nightfall or they would be at a disadvantage. Maru asked how they were supposed to do that if whenever he got close, the monster attacked with its tongue. Kang replied that Nana was the perfect chance since it couldn't speak anymore. However, the man said she was in no condition to fight. The wound in her chest was not regenerating. At that moment, the protagonist ran to the side, thinking he had to find a way to face the monster. He waved his arms, insulted the creature, and tried to draw its attention. The monster turned toward him, exactly the chance he was waiting for. He told the guy to take care of Kang because he was going to use the new power he had received, but his friend was confused because his power only worked in closed spaces. Kang told him to help Maru before he died. Meanwhile, our boy was running from the monster, which was coming right behind him with its tongue swinging around. He looked around for a closed place, but unfortunately there were no houses nearby. While searching for a solution, a car passed by. It was that rich guy again who stopped and told him to get in. Without hesitation, the protagonist jumped into the car. The rich guy took out a card to open the door. Exactly what you would expect from a billionaire kid. Our boy felt jealous of that bastard. He jumped inside the car while the monster came from behind. The monster aimed a direct attack at the car while our boy shouted for the guy to get in. But that was actually a trap for the monster. The creature entered the car and the guy locked it inside. Our boy tried to get out of the car again, saying that the plan would work. But then the scene from the beginning happened. Our boy was sliced into 36 pieces. The monster smiled as it came out of the car, thinking it had killed him. That was when someone grabbed the monster by the neck. He looks back and sees Maru there. That is when we realize that the bastard activated his clone ability as soon as he entered the car. Now several Marus are attacking the monster, grabbing it from every side and pulling it inside while devouring it. The monster is screaming in pain, trying to find the real one, who seems to be hiding somewhere in the back. The rich guy is banging on the window, asking why the bastard is not getting out of there. Kang appears, asking where the boy is. While being devoured, the monster says that this is not necessary. They could just sit down and talk for a bit. Or was he naturally violent, just like his father? Another psychological attack hits, and our boy falls into a memory, with tears in his eyes, his father grabbing him by the collar and telling him to stop God knows what. The monster starts asking how he felt when his father disappeared without saying anything. Maru does not want to listen. He punches his own ears to make himself deaf. With blood pouring from his ears, he tells the monster to stop playing with people's emotions. The creature seems like it is about to move its mouth so he can read its lips, but he just frowns and says that its attacks mean nothing as long as he cannot understand what is being said. With that, he closes his fist, and the car roof starts being crushed. Outside, Kang tries to stop it, but the emotionless guy pulls her back by the arms and says there is nothing they can do. The car keeps being crushed, and the boy turns into a pool of blood. Someone says that the yellow dust is disappearing. The car has turned into a flat pancake on the ground, and Kang approaches, saying they have to save Maru. The emotionless guy wants to give up, saying that the boy has been dead for a long time, but Kang insists that as long as there is yellow dust in the air, there is a chance he can be saved. She rips apart the pieces of the car, asking why that idiot crushed himself like that. They hear some knocking, and the guy goes to help, wondering the same thing. Meanwhile, our boy is in a void. He has no idea where he is, and it is as if he cannot feel his own body. At least it would be good if he had managed to kill that talkative monster. He tries to remember the last movements of its mouth. The creature warned him that the abyss was looking for him, and that he should remember the call. Losing consciousness, he wonders what that call even means. Then the monster screams, telling him to wake up. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a red place. His clothes start to twist, and a hand comes out of his stomach. Suddenly, that same black furry dog is coming out from inside his body. The boy is obviously not okay, not wanting to know what that thing is. The monster stands face to face with him and asks if he remembers. Back to the flashback when he was a child and saw that creature. The monster stared at him and his father, and Maru said it was strange and that they should run. But his father grabbed him by the collar and said no. From that day on, they would start fighting. Maru cried, not understanding why. Then his father said it was because they needed to obtain that bastard's unique ability. He dragged the boy, saying that now they were going to the abyss. He threw the boy in front of the monster, and as soon as it raised its head, he was about to be eaten. Back to the car scene, the emotionless guy keeps breaking his fingers with what little yellow dust remains, destroying the pieces of the car. After tearing almost everything apart, at the very end is Maru, soaked in blood, vacuum-sealed inside. Seeing that, the guy says there is no more dust for him to recover. He looks away, knowing that the boy has no salvation. Kang holds Maru's hand and asks if he can hear her. Suddenly, his finger starts moving. That is when they both notice. Just like a demon, he seems to be producing his own yellow dust. His broken bones start to rotate, twist, and fix themselves, and the boy stands up. They're shocked that he almost fully recovered on his own. However, he loses consciousness and falls face first to the ground. They look at him lying there, and immediately the emotionless guy starts stepping on him, wanting to know the bastard's true identity. The boy is suffering, confused, asking why he is being beaten. The guy grabs him by the collar, saying he doesn't understand why he is able to produce his own yellow dust. In theory, the only power he received was gluttony. That is when the protagonist realizes that gluttony was not the first power he received. It actually came from that monster when he was younger. It was his father who forced him to receive that creature's power. He just doesn't know why. He has a panic attack and falls to the ground. The emotionless guy asks what is wrong. Kang, who has some kindness in her heart, tells him to give the boy some time since he is still recovering. She also says that for now, it is better to keep all of this a secret between the three of them. The guy refuses, saying it's crazy to leave a monster free. Everyone should know, including headquarters. But she replies that for now, no other Maru seems to know about the yellow dust. Even so, he insists, asking what they will do if he becomes a dangerous demon. She replies that she trusts Hanamaru and believes he will not do anything dangerous. The man looks back and then says it's fine because he really doesn't care what happens to that kid anyway. With that, he leaves and Kang realizes all the responsibility is now in her hands. On the train on the way home, our boy feels that the job is more exhausting than he expected. He is trying to understand this whole thing about the power of gluttony and what that monster really was. At that moment, the monster is staring at him through the window, and the poor guy gets scared. The man sitting next to him tells him to stop acting weird. Our boy puts his hand on his chest and says he just saw something strange. He asks the man if he wants to hear about his problems, but the man replies that he is not interested at all. It is better if they don't get involved in each other's lives. Our boy feels lonely, realizing that no one at work really cares for him. Then TikTok receives a call from someone named Kim Wood asking what is going on. The scene changes to the Zakaya bar. There, Kim Wood is telling someone to leave the Guang Mountain group and request a transfer. A chubby, awkward guy says it's fine, but asks who that person next to him is. It's our boy, and even the man next to him asks since when he was invited. The poor guy says he has been having a very difficult life too, and he does not want to be alone. He looks at Kim Wood and says it is the first time he has seen someone from another team, and asks why he wants to leave that place. Joe explains that it is because of all the arguments and problems there. TikTok says that it looks more like one-sided bullying. Our boy asks if this is the legendary office bullying he has heard so much about. TikTok agrees and says that Joe is a very kind person, and that he should just cause some trouble and then leave, just like he did. Our boy says he did not know he came from another group. Then Joe says that the man sitting with them was actually the one who got bullied the most. Now our boy is scared, wondering what kind of people are in that group. Joe explains that the people there are closer to demons than humans. Even among public servants who fight demons, there are people more dangerous than the monsters themselves. Maru remembers when the man said he could become more dangerous than a monster, and wonders if he is one of those people. On the way home, he is walking with the chubby guy and asks if they are still far. They arrive at the noodle shop owned by the guy's parents, and he tells him to come inside. Suddenly, his expression changes when he sees all of his old teammates there. The poor guy freezes and turns around, bumping into someone. A huge man, almost 4 meters tall, says he came to find Joe, but since he is here, he kicks him in the chest and steps on his head, saying that if he wanted to transfer, he should have left peacefully. His biggest mistake was setting the place on fire before running away. He keeps stomping on Joe until our boy grabs his arm and tells him to stop. The man looks at him and asks who he is. Our boy, with yellow dust shining in his mouth, says that he works at the same office as Joe. The big man laughs and says that he must be from Gan Island, where only idiots and weird people exist. He punches him in the face, saying that he is stooped if he thinks he will not get beaten too. Our boy falls to the ground, and the man goes back to kicking Joe. He has taken more hits from these people than from that monster earlier. Maru slowly stands up, trying to hide his bleeding nose, but yellow dust is coming out of his mouth. The area starts turning yellow, and our boy is not happy at all. Meanwhile, the big man keeps punching Joe, saying that because of him he had to go through rehabilitation for months. TikTok is being choked, crying and getting beaten, while the other guys behind them say they did not expect him to transfer to Guara Island so soon. Suddenly, someone stands up behind them. The door opens, and the man gets a heavy kick in the mouth. He hits his head on the wall and falls down. Everyone wants to know who that crazy person is. It is the emotionless guy, who just says that he is also a member of Gan Island. He goes to Maru and tells him that he is going to die if he keeps acting like this. Our boy hides the yellow dust and asks why he is there. He replies that he was following him in case he caused trouble. On the train, he also noticed that Kong was secretly following him. She arrives at the shop too without knowing what is happening. She goes straight to TikTok asking if he is okay. She says that they are lucky she is here because she is taking him out of there. However, the woman from the military group says that her friend is almost dead too, so she is not leaving so easily. Another guy says that the emotionless man caused trouble for him too, so he is here to settle things. Kong says that it looks like they all want to receive discipline again. When she is about to speak, the big man stands up, looks at the emotionless guy, and says that today one of them is going to die. He rushes forward to punch him, but the emotionless guy says he is looking forward to it. The fight is about to start, and Maru stands in the corner not knowing what to do. He wants to help, but Kong tells him not to get involved. If he transformed, things could become dangerous, so it was better to be careful. Apparently, she pulled the man who was passing by and adjusted his shirt. Poor guy, now it was his turn to get beaten. The man came at him with a chair, saying that today was the day he would die. But a powerful punch came from the side and hit the idiot right in the ribs. Armed with a broom, Kong had already immobilized the first one and then struck the second one in the shin. The steroid nerd was rolling on the ground in pain, and she warned them that they had better stop right there or things would end badly for them. Then an older man appeared, asking why they were fighting with civilians. When he came out of the bathroom, Kong asked who he was, and the man said he was the leader of Guang Mountain. Kong seemed relieved and was about to explain what happened. But if I had to bet $1 billion, I would say this guy was worse than the three on the ground. And that was exactly the case. He punched her straight in the mouth. Seriously, you do not do that. Do you want to die? I would jump into this story and kill you myself. The man even said that she was not a civilian, so they were allowed to hit her. He looked at the emotionless man and said that it had been a long time since they last met. Maru looked to the side, saw Kong hurt, and started absorbing the yellow dust. There was no way he would let them hit his crush like that. He knew it was crazy, but he didn't care anymore. He rushed toward the leader. The man didn't look worried and asked what the kid thought he was going to do. But then he took a massive punch to the face, spun across the room, and smashed into the wall, his head cracking. Our boy was just standing there, absorbing and releasing yellow dust. Everyone was shocked, and the emotionless guy knew that the situation had become serious. Maru tried to help Kong stand up. She told him that she had warned him not to use that yellow dust, but he apologized. He said he got angry because she was hurt and wanted revenge. The crazy man, leaning against the wall, started laughing. The worst part was that he was also absorbing the yellow dust. He said it was impressive that someone who was not a demon could release it. He got close to Maru and said he was curious what he really was. He even asked Maru if he wanted to join his team. Maru remembered that this group was full of people worse than demons, and replied that he would never join a team full of trash. The leader didn't seem offended and said that was a shame that he would not let Maru escape so easily. Now that there was enough yellow dust around, maybe they should fight. Guang Mountain versus Gon Mountain. After all, fighting only demons was getting boring. But our boy realized that their group was starting to become just like psychopaths. The leader sat down, eating some seaweed, and said it was time to start the competition. Kang was clearly against this, but he ignored her and explained the rules. Whoever won the 3 versus 3 fight would keep Isak. If they won, they would forget everything he did at the office and also forget about the boy with demon powers. He said that the headquarters would never let Maru stay free if they found out about his power, so it was better to settle things with a fight. Kang realized that the leader was not listening to anything she said. Typical leader behavior. She wondered why Maru did not just finish him right away. He explained that it would be madness because the others would interfere and it would turn into a chaotic brawl. The leader said they should think of it as a healthy competition where whoever surrendered first would lose, and no killing, because killing was something only bad people did. Everyone thought this guy really had no idea what he was talking about. The emotionless guy took off his cap, put on his gloves, and said he was excited to fight another human who used powers. Maru said he was going crazy, but Kang agreed and said it was better to fight. For now, they needed to buy time. They both asked why, and she said they would understand later, but asked who would go first. He stepped forward, saying it was boring just to watch. The leader asked who would fight on their side. At that moment, the steroid nerd took off his glasses. He stared at the emotionless guy and saw a monster reflected in his eyes. They explained that the nerd had the ability to break his own body to attack his opponent. The giant, almost 5 meters tall, stepped forward and said he would handle it. He charged his fist and released strange tree-like branches, saying he wanted to rip the life out of him. The emotionless guy stayed calm, broke one finger, destroyed the attack, and asked if that was all.